Hello and welcome to this session of Groundbreakers Live. I'm your host, Javed Mohammed, and today we're very honored to have with us Bert Jan Schrijver. I hope I got that kind of right. Bert, welcome.
Thanks.
So Bert is a Java champion. He's a Java 1 rock star, and he's got a very long and very accomplished background. He's a CTO currently. Um, And what else can I say? He's also giving the keynote called The Value of Learning and Sharing at Javaland. And that's why we're having this conversation. So Bert, tell us about this keynote. How did it come about?
Yeah, it's basically, well, let's say the story of my career as a developer, and how I started my career basically in working at a company where we weren't doing much in terms of participating in community. So I was mainly learning about the stuff we were doing at this company, but not how the rest of the world was building software. And then when I switched to another company that was a bit more active in let's say the Java community, there I noticed that there were all kinds of amazing events going on and meetups and presentations and other people where I could learn. And this for me was like the first time when I noticed that, wow, there's a whole community of software developers who like to help each other by sharing their experience and teaching others what they have learned. And for me, it started there, but really broadening my view as a developer and learning not only what was relevant for my day job, but also all the other cool stuff that was going on in let's say the entire world of companies that were building software.
Okay, I want to just kind of go even just a little bit before that. And as we're having this conversation, one of the thoughts that kind of goes through my mind is typically, and again, you can't stereotype all developers into one kind of scenario, but usually probably developers more so than people in sales or that kind of tend to be a little more introverted. So when you're talking about sharing and speaking and all that, maybe for some people it comes naturally, and for others it's an effort. And I was wondering, how was it for you?
I think it was a combination of some things that went naturally and also some things I just need to learn. So the first time I went on stage to present at a conference, I was well, not really relaxed, so to say. So there was a lot of tension because I knew I needed to do good, and I was talking really fast and sometimes losing and skipping my words and mainly looking at the floor or looking at the walls, but not looking at the big scary audience, obviously. But I noticed that once I started doing this more and more, that I got more relaxed and eventually even started enjoying all this. I did always from the start liked helping people and helping them by telling stories about things that I had learned. So for me, I think it was a combination of things that went naturally and also just practicing and getting relaxed with standing in front of groups of people.
Okay. So what kind of was, and you talked about moving from one company to another. So other than like kind of the transition in organization, what role has community played in your growth?
I think a lot. I think I once I started participating in the Java community in the Netherlands, I developed myself a lot quicker because I also started learning about topics that I wasn't really working with at my day job. And I found out there was a wealth of conferences and meetups going on where I could just go and learn almost for free, like learn new things. So I think learning new things and broadening my experience as a developer is one. I think secondly, meeting interesting companies, because, well, if you regularly visit meetups, these are typically organized in-house at companies, and then when you're at this company, you start talking to interesting people, and if you're lucky, they find you interesting as well, and there might be a future for you at this company. So I think that's two. I think the past 3 times or so I switched jobs was through companies I met through the Java community in the Netherlands. And I think third is by visiting events and also participating in events, you build a network with like-minded people. So by speaking mainly internationally, I met a lot of amazing people in the Java community and build a network of like-minded people around the world. And I noticed that this really started helping when my company was starting to expand outside of the Netherlands. And in some of the cities that we were looking at on starting there, I found out that I already knew some people, for example, through the Java Champions program or to conferences where I'd been. And this really helped us in getting started there. So I think those are the three key things that visiting and participating in events has helped me in my career.
Okay. Your title is The Value of Learning and Sharing. And I know this is kind of a process that happens over time and then probably in small increments. But is there something that kind of stands out, maybe just as an example of something that you felt really empowered with by learning, and or and then the second half of it through sharing?
Yeah, obviously it started for me mainly with learning. So I remember that one of the first couple of conferences I visited, I was really amazed by all the cool stuff that other people were doing, and
Mhm,
and for me it was mostly also inspiring me to dive into new technologies that I hadn't heard of before.
mhm,
So in terms of learning, I think I mostly got inspired by seeing other people tell passionate stories about what they were working on, what they had learned.
mhm,
And then I kind of felt that once I was progressing in my career, that it was kind of like my duty to pay back some sharing as well, right? So
mhm,
I had built my career upon people who were sharing their knowledge and experience with me, but basically for free. And I found, okay, now it's my time to pay back as well. And then I started submitting proposals to conferences and seeing whether I could get accepted and
mhm,
get on stage and start helping other people by sharing my experience as well. And what
mhm,
was really interesting that by sharing, you even gain more experience. So
mhm,
I was typically presenting something, and then afterwards somebody would come over to me and said, "Hey, you talked about this problem. We had the same. We solved it in our company in this way, or with this tool, with this technology." So for me, it was really interesting to see that sharing is always a two-way process. You give something, and you get something in return.
mhm. And as you've moved up the kind of career ladder from a developer to a chief technical officer, has the process of what you learn or how you learn, has that kind of evolved? I mean, can you give us a sneak peek into that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when I was doing full-time consulting in my career, I was mainly learning lots of things really deep. Like I work with Jenkins for 1 year for full time, learn a lot of things about Jenkins. I work with Vertex for 3 years full time, really in-depth knowledge of Vertex. While now I'm more learning more a bit on the surface to say. So I learn a little about a lot of things. So it's
Okay.
now more broadening, and I like to see like my knowledge as a toolbox where I put all kind of like shallow pieces of knowledge in there
Mhm,
that I know enough to advise clients or colleagues about, okay, maybe this might be interesting to look at, and when necessary I can dive into something deeper. But now I mostly want to know, let's say, a little about a lot of things.
great. And one last question, like there's so much going on, that so many technologies that are out there. Which technology excites you and which one scares you?
I think AI both excites me and scares me.
Uh-huh.
Um, Obviously, there's been lots of examples, mostly for movies, where AIs can go wrong, but I think we're far from there. I do think that technologies like deep fakes, where it's easy to create fairly believable fake videos from people. I think this
Mhm,
can be a risk and something that's kind of scary. On the other hand, using AI to um, like make it able to automate tasks that were not able to automate before, or find like connections between pieces of data that weren't be able to found before. I think that's really interesting.
mhm,
To go a bit more like close to the Java world, I think GraalVM is a very interesting progression, and the ability to build native images that can run as a single binary on all kinds of systems is something that can I think push Java forward a bit in the serverless space.
Okay. Well, there's a lot going on there, Bert. I really appreciate you giving us your time. It sounds like a really exciting keynote, and we encourage all the folks out there to check it out at Javaland. Bert, all the best.